Well, this is fitting music.
Get up, stand up.
Folks, it's a joke.
Stand up for your rights.
They just demonize everything as a pretext to get regular people in the criminal justice system. And when they made marijuana illegal, a lot more people started using it. If you go back into the 30s and before that the 20s, it was very few people. Some Hispanics in the Southwest, black communities smoked it some. It was called reefer. That's the term they use for reefer madness, where it shows people murdering everybody when they smoke marijuana. And then they made it illegal, and now it's one of the most popular drugs in use. Now, it has a lot of medical uses. There's no other plant we know of that has this many uses. I mean, it's really an incredible plant. But I want to go to some of your phone calls here from Anti-Federalist Ruth and others that are patiently holding the toll-free number, 1-800-259-9231. I have some other callers that we're holding from earlier. We'll go to them, too. But, Kevin, other points you want to make about how weed won the West. I mean, this is also a 10th Amendment issue of states' rights. What are the feds doing? Just like telling Montana you can't make your own guns. Tennessee you can't, when clearly under the constitutional they can if they're not sold outside the state. Why can't California or other 13 other states decriminalize this? Why are the feds in their business?
No, I mean, it's completely almost like medieval, like the old days of having the people come from the kingdom to tax you. You know, I mean, people out here in California are thousands of miles away from Washington, D.C., just trying to live their lives and survive economically any way that they can and treat their illnesses the best that they know how. And having the feds come in, you know, over and over again. And even regardless of what Obama said, the DEA has just been in town just within the last week or so busting people again. You know, they're said to be trying to shut down over 900 of the 1,000 dispensaries right now. It's a war out here right now. I mean, there's war on the streets right now with what these people are doing. You know, and what's funny too, what you're talking about how reefer was unknown. You know, you always talk about how the New World Order plan is like backfires on them. Well, the whole marijuana thing has backfired on them too, because what they've done, you know, by putting it into mainstream culture and demonizing it and making it cool and all those things you talk about, is they've also created an entire society of people, whole generations of people that have become expert growers and have now cultivated marijuana up into new heights. And, you know, and we compare marijuana now to like the fine wine vineyards of Northern California, where you have all these different strains and these people that all take pride in their strains. And, you know, you could go to the different ranches up there in the Emerald Triangle, and everybody has their own little way of doing things. You know, and this is all a result from them trying to outlaw it and demonize it. So, you know, I think history repeats itself, and anytime you try to squash people like this, it's just going to rise up. And the DEA still comes out and they'll say, well, the marijuana of today is 70% stronger than it was back in the 60s, you know, and that's another reason why it should be so bad. Well, no.
Yeah, but now the pot smokers I know, they just take 1 or 2 hits instead of smoking 3 joints.
Exactly, because it's the smoke that's bad for you, okay? Smoking anything is bad for you, you know? I mean, you know, because anything like this dust, you know, breathing dust is bad for you. Putting anything in your lungs is bad for you, yes. So the whole thing is that the new marijuana is cleaned. If you get the good stuff, it's organic. It's not grown with chemicals. And you just take 1 or 2 hits. A lot of people use vaporizers now. And, you know, it's not anything, you know, you'd have to smoke 100 joints probably to equal a pack of cigarettes as far as just lung damage goes. And then
regardless, the government is laundering the hard drug money. They're on record dealing it. And it's time for everybody to come out. Ventura's doing it in his book. You're doing it in your film, and just say, stop it. We know.
Well, it's also proven, too, that when they come out here and they're raiding these dispensaries, that they keep the money and they keep the pot and then they resell the pot.
Well, did you see the AP article where both the courthouse shooter in Nevada and the Pentagon shooter both got their guns from a police lockup in Tennessee that were confiscated guns? That sounds like a federal operation to me right there.
Yeah.
I mean, my point is that the cops are incredibly corrupt all over the country, and we know they're making payoffs. And what are they going to do, though, as 60, 70, 80, now in some polls 90% want drug decriminalization across the board, but the drug dealers and the police and the government want to keep it illegal because they're making all the money?
you know, and they always try to like say, well, what's next? Crystal meth? If we legalize this, when's the last time you're ever going to, you know, when are you ever going to see them having like a big freedom march or a free the meth march? People love marijuana. It's on a different level. And, you know, and that just reminds me that we have like 420 Day coming up. And, you know, not that I'm into any kind of numerology or anything like that, but as you know, April 20th is like the big day for marijuana smokers. And we're trying to get screenings going all over the country, including we're going to be at the Toronto Freedom Festival up there on 420. So I just wanted to shout out to everybody who wants to set up a 420 screening to get a hold of us. It'd be great.
Absolutely. Now, Kevin, separately, though, and I want to go to some calls in a moment, dealing with marijuana, the establishment is clearly losing the war. So what Obama has done is they're going into the states saying, fine, you can have some dispensaries, but you can't have 1,000 dispensaries in your city. You can only have 75, and then select people get to have those dispensaries. So it's another monopoly being set up.
No, exactly. I mean, and it's probably who all is going to, you know, I mean, I don't know for a fact, but, you know, the people that are going to be left standing, you know, they're going to be the ones that are going to have to be buddying up to these people or something. I mean, it's
and
ridiculous.
then that will drive up the price of marijuana again and keep the illegal market going. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, all the street dealers. I know a handful of street dealers, especially ones I've interviewed for the thing. I mean, they are happy about all these dispensaries being shut down because they have lost all their business. You can't, you know, going to the corner to buy your marijuana from the crack dealer was the norm in the 80s and the 90s. No more. Why would you go to the corner to buy marijuana from some creepy guy when you know you can get the best of the best at some store with well lit with security guards out front?
Well, the globalists want to keep everything in the shadows so they can control it and get the money out of it. Let's talk to Anti-Federalist from Georgia. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. I wanted to make a comment first about the film American Drug War. I wanted to say that it's one of the, if not the only film I've ever seen on the drug war. It wasn't apologetic. It didn't really go after the medical marijuana, but actually went after the real issues about the actual drug war and the government's involvement. But my question is, you had mentioned before when you were on the show about some of the dispensaries being having feds in control of them, or at least some of them working with the federal government. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are as far as them trying to, I guess, cultivate a kind of Monsanto kind of commercialization if it were to be decriminalized.
Oh, yeah, the big cigarette makers have gone into California and are buying up all the key growing area. They're clearly getting ready to have it where the cigarette makers have it. They can manipulate the genetics. They can add chemicals to it. Kevin?
Well, there's a lot of word out amongst the growers that I know that there's probably only going to be a small gap of time for all these people that have spent their whole lives creating all these strains and all that from the time that it's legalized to the time that major corporations take it all over. There's probably going to be about a 1-year slot in there for all these people to basically cash in on the last 20 years of their work. And that's sad, but that's what everybody thinks is really going to happen. You know, giant corporations will swoop down and take over this whole thing.
And so it's still really going to be illegal. Select corporations will be able to do it, and they're still going to put your kids in jail if they catch them with it. We've got to have real decriminalization, not the corporatization of
right,
this.
And there's a lot to do with strains, too. There's a lot of word out saying that, you know, the government will now have certain strains that you're allowed to have. And if you're caught using, you know, illegal strains, you know, it'll be the kind of thing where, you know, they'll confiscate your marijuana and test it. And if it's not the right kind of marijuana, you can get in trouble. If it's not the government-approved strains, like the government will own the patents on, like, you know, a certain amount of strains.
And you know Monsanto's going to come out with a Prozac strain or something. I mean,
of course. I'm sure they're working on it right now. There's no telling what all, you know, they're going to, exactly. It'll have the same exact effect, but they'll get all the pot smokers to, like, take Prozac anyways, right?
Let's talk to Ruth in Louisiana. You're on the air, Ruth.
Yes. Hello, Alex. I've been praying for you every day.
Thank you.
I will tell, well, I have two comments. One's personal, but the first one is, if it wasn't for marijuana in 2000, I would be dead.
Really?
I got a condition called cyclic vomiting syndrome, which is migraine in the stomach. I already had migraines all my life, but I went down to 85 pounds, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything. I just finally told my husband, you got to go find me some, which he did. Did it late at night because the children were small at the time. I didn't want them to know what I was up to. And it saved my life. I was able to eat, keep my food down, got my weight back, but now I have to take morphine for the rest of my life, and unfortunately, I have to be tested every month.